Well, hello, welcome again to Introduction to New Testament Greek course. I'm up to sheet 6. I assume that you've worked carefully through the earlier material. So in this section we're going to introduce the middle voice and some neuter nouns. Now the middle voice is, you'll find, a rather strange thing. We don't have it in English, it's not in Latin either. It does occur in Sanskrit. It's a very strange Indo-European idea. And so a number of verbs in Greek end in omai, and these are called deponent middle verbs. Originally, the so-called middle voice was reflexive. In other words, it referred back to the subject of the verb. So we have, for example, the verb luo. Notice slightly different spellings. It's not the luo we've had before. This is luo, which means I wash, in the sense of I wash someone else. But luomai in the middle means I wash myself, so it's reflexive, hence I bathe. This is not terribly common usage in the New Testament. More commonly, there are verbs which have no active form, that is, they don't end in omega at all, but they only occur in this so-called middle voice, and they're called deponent middle verbs. They are generally irregular, I'm sorry to say, but they are very common. As with active verbs, we have to learn the personal endings. So we take as our model erkomai, which is the verb meaning I come. So erkomai, omai is the first person singular. Erke is the second person, use singular come. Now originally that was erkesai, it was erkomai, erkesai, erketai. But as often happens in Greek, the sigma dropped out, the epsilon and the alpha contracted to give you an eta, and then the iota got written subscript. So you notice a little iota subscript there. You must write it, but you don't pronounce it. So erke, which is quite tricky, means you come, you are coming. And erketai, he comes. So erkomai, erke, erketai, and the first person plural erkomatha. Again, those interested in the accents, you'll notice that the accent is moved from the epsilon to the there, because the accent can't go back any more than 3 syllables, back to the third syllable. If the last vowel is short, and we count I as being short, then the accent, we count back 3, so we've got 1, 2, the accent has to move to there. It can't go any further back than that. So erkomatha, we come, erkeste, you plural come, and erkontai, they come. So you need to practice learning those very carefully. Erkomai, erke, erketai, erkomatha, erkeste, erkontai. Now the nouns we've had so far have been masculine, second declension nouns ending in os. We've had a couple of feminine ones as well. But as well as masculine nouns, the second declension also contains a number of nouns which are designated as neuter. These nouns are very similar to those, the endings are very similar to those of the masculine nouns, except in the nominative and accusative, and they're always the same ending in the nominative and accusative. So our model here is ergon. Originally there was a w in front of this, so the original form was wergon. The w drops out very early in Greek, and it's cognate with our word work. So ergon is the word for work. It is cognate with it. So it's ergon, ergon in the nominative and accusative. It's always the same, nominative, accusative the same. And then the genitive and dative is exactly the same endings as for anthropos or logos. In the neuter plural is alpha for both nominative and accusative. Erga, works, erga, works. Context tells you whether it's the subject or the object. And then the same endings as before, ergon and ergois, of works or to or for works. So you have to learn these very carefully, and when you learn the noun, you learn it ending in on. Now, we want to be able to say the with it. We want a definite article. So the definite articles for the neuters are to. Now these are the same, to and to, same as the masculine. And then ta, and then these are the same, tone and toice. So in fact, if you think about it, so far we've got 8, not all different, but 8 words for thee so far. In fact, 16 words for thee. We've got 4 there and 4 there, and another 8 for the masculine. Now, a very funny rule in Greek, which doesn't always followed in the New Testament anyway, but generally the rule is that neuter plural nouns are followed by a singular verb. This is a very strange rule. It's just the way it is in Greek. I have had it explained to me once where this arose from, but it's fairly arcane. So, for example, ta daimonia ton diabolon phile. So the demons, plural, phile, we would say they love. The Greek said it loves the devil. So neuter plural, subject, singular verb. It's just a funny oddity, and in the New Testament it doesn't always happen anyway. I'm going to introduce some prepositions as we go, and the two here are en and ace. En is an easy one. It means in, and it always takes the dative case. So if you're saying in the house has to be in the dative case. Ace means into, and it always takes the accusative case. So the preposition en, meaning in, takes the dative case. So that means when we say in the house, the words the house have to appear in the dative case. For example, hoi ento oiko means those, the ones. Often Greek will use just the article, meaning those. Ento oiko, in the house. Ace, meaning into, always takes the accusative case. For example, eis ton oikon means into the house. So you could say erkomai eis ton oikon, I am going into the house. Okay, well here's some vocabulary, and here are some deponent middle verbs. Erkomai we've had, I come. Arkomai means I begin. Arkomai, I begin. Ergasdomai, I work. So you can see we've had ergon, I work, and there's the cognate verb, ergasdomai. In fact, the accent's in the wrong place there. That was a bad mistake. It's ergasdomai. The accent can't go back any further than the third syllable. So ergasdomai, I work. Prosukamai, I pray. We'll see later the noun a prayer is prosuke, and the verb prosukamai, I pray. Apokrinomai, I answer. Apokrinomai, I answer. Very common word, ginomai. In classical Greek this is gignomai, but the gamma's dropped out. By the time we get to New Testament Greek, there's no gamma there. So it's ginomai, I become. Very funny word here, aspasdomai, I greet. Aspasdomai, I greet. Decamai, I receive. Decamai, I receive. Now some neuter nouns, there's lots of these, second declension. Neuter nouns, argurion means silver. In the plural, arguria is often used for money. So argurion can mean silver or money. Biblion is a word for book. That's an easy one. Biblion, book. Daimonion, a demon. Daimonion, a demon. In fact, our word demon is just a corruption of this, spelling of this. Dendron, word for tree. They have in biology there's dendrites, tree-like structures. So dendron, a tree. There's ergon, a work. Euangelion, good news or gospel. This is one of the words that the early Christians took over to be their own. It's a New Testament word in this sense. In classical Greek, euangelion meant a reward that you gave to a messenger for good news. And then the word just comes to mean the good news itself, and that's its meaning in the New Testament. This is a difficult one. Hieron, notice the hard breathing. Hieron. This is another word for a temple. This is the big temple as opposed to the naos, which is the shrine. You can have a naos inside a hieron. So this is a temple. A difficult one. Himation, a garment. Himatia, plural, is used for clothes. Mneimaion, that's a difficult one to learn. Mneimaion, a tomb. It's connected with our word memory. It's the place where you remember people in their mneimaion, the tomb. An easy one, mysterion, a mystery. It's where our word mystery comes from, mysterion. Paidion, a little child. Paidion, a little child. We get words like pediatrics and so on. So paidion, a little child, and teknon, these are very, very similar. There's no real great difference between them. Teknon is connected with the verb to give birth to, and it hence comes to mean a child. Ploion, a boat. Poterion, a cup. Now I think we've had Pinot, I drink, perhaps we haven't, but this is cognate with that. So poterion is a cup. Probaton, a word for sheep. This is not the usual classical word, but it is the later word in Greek for a sheep. Prosopon, very common word meaning face. Can be used abstractly, the surface, but often used at just face. Semeion, the word for a sign. Sunedrion, we often translate as the Sanhedrin. This is a Greek word. They used this to translate the Sanhedrin really is just a Hebraic way of writing Sunedrion. It means a council. It's connected with sitting together, in the roots of this. And Sabbaton for the Sabbath. This is Shabbat is a Hebrew word and has been put into Greek as Sabbaton, meaning the Sabbath. So I'll leave you to practice the vocabulary. Again, I'll just quickly go through the sentences, and you can go back later and rewrite them, and then check by hearing it again that you got them translated correctly. Ta daimonia erkatai eis ton oikon. So this is neuter plural, and we've got a singular verb. We just translate it as a plural verb in English. The demons are coming into the house. Ho adelphos Jacobu agron karpu eke. The brother of James has a field of fruit. I think we actually did that one in an earlier bit. Hoi apostoloi ergadzontai ta erga tu theou. The apostles are working, we could say are doing or are performing, are working the works of God. Hode Christos aspasdatai ta paidia tu doulou. But the Christ greets the children of the slave. Ou apokrin nometha tus huius tu diabolou. We do not answer the sons of the devil. Ta semea theou anthropois estin. The signs of God, now neuter plural singular verb are for men, literally is for men, but neuter plural singular verb rule. Decamai de ton huion tu diakonu eis ton oikon. But I receive the son of the servant into the house. Pros eukatai to kurio ento agro. That's a question. Is he praying to the Lord in the field? Theoro topoterion to kuriou ento nao. I am looking at the cup of the Lord in the shrine. Jesus sodze ta ploia hamatolon ou de graphe biblia apostolois. Jesus saves the boats, plural, of sinners, but he does not write books for the apostles. Hoi Pharisaioi kontai eis ton agron. The Pharisees are going into the field. Now again, I've corrected this here. It should be me philuntes Iesun hoi tu diabolu huiu aspadzontai tus apostolos. Not loving Jesus, the sons, notice that's got to go with that, of the devil, do not greet the apostles. Erke eis ton oikon tu theou, it's a question. Now this is that second person, so are you going into the house of God? Question. Hodedoulos apokrinatai ton paralytikon kai ou mene ento oiko. But the slave answers the paralytic man, and he does not remain in the house. Hooklos huriskon toploion ite aton. The crowd, finding the boat, ask for bread. Christos lele tois en tois uranois angelois. The Messiah speaks from laleo. Now the tois has to go with the word at the end. So the Messiah speaks to the angels in the heavens. Notice how Greek will often split the noun from the word for the. Jigsaw puzzles, you have to put them together carefully. Ta probata esthie ento agro al hoi anthropoi ento ploia. We've got al rather than alla because there's a diphthong following. So the sheep, neuter plural singular verb, the sheep are eating in the field, but the men understand are eating. You've got to supply the verb in the next bit, but the men are eating in the boat. Decometha tus tu theologus kai philumen ta musteria tu euangeliou. We receive the words of God, and we love the mysteries of the gospel. Hoi anthropoi pros eukontai to theo al blepontes ta semea ou metanousin. The men are praying to God, but seeing the signs they do not repent. Theoreti ta prosopaton parthenon, question. Are you looking at the faces of the maidens? Now as usual I like to have a little passage I've just made up here just to get away from the sentences. So, Jesus es ton oikon tu Petru erkatai, blepon de Ioannen ite aton, Ioannes apokrinatai aton uk ekomen. Al, now this actually would probably in better Greek would have a kappa in here because you've got u plus a vowel, so it's uk. Uk ekomen al pempo ton doulon mu eis ten polin met agurion. Jesus decatai ta mikra paidia kai loge auta ento oiko. Hoi blepontes ta semea tu Jesus logusin ton theon kai aspadzontai tus apostolos. Hoti theorusin ta musteria tu euangeliou. So Jesus, now the verb's down here, you've got to find the verb as jigsaw puzzles. Jesus goes or enters, goes into the house of Peter. But seeing John, he asks for bread. John answers, "Uk ekomen, we do not have bread." Notice there's no inverted commas here. You have to supply them. You can see it's a separate statement by a capital alpha here. So John answers, "We do not have bread." The kappa in front because you've got, instead of u ekomen, it's uk ekomen. "But I am sending the slave." Now we haven't seen this one before. Mu, as you can guess, this might be a genitive. We've had met meaning me, and mu is of me, so my. So I am sending my slave, astan polin. We haven't had polin, this is a third declension noun, but polis is a city. I am sending my slave into the city, met argurion, with, we haven't had meta yet, but we will soon, meta plus the genitive, with money. So it's argurion plural. So I am sending my slave into the city with money. Jesus receives the mikra. It's an adjective, we haven't had that yet, but you can guess mikros means small. Jesus receives the little children, the small children, and blesses our ta, it's agreeing back with paideia, them, in the house. Hoi blepontes, those seeing, participle here with the article, it's very common in Greek, those seeing the signs of Jesus, they bless God and they greet the apostles. Hoti we haven't had yet, but it means because. Hoti, very common word. We greet the apostles because they see the mysteries of the gospel. So again, I suggest you go back through the sentences, have a go at translating them yourself, and then you can double check by going back through the video. And the same with the passage. Have a go at, and freeze the page, have a go at translating it yourself. Then you can go back and compare it with the recording. And that's the end of chapter 6.